Welcome, everybody, everywhere. It's Spurs, Diehards, Tottenham till I die. We're going to get straight into it this evening. We've got some things to discuss. We have got, let me see here. We have got some transfer news. We've got some Morgan Gibbs-White updates. We have got being linked to everybody and their dog. So, yeah, we've got plenty to go over. I'm going to introduce our guest, Mr. Steve Silver from Stateside Footy. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent, man. Not a bad little Friday afternoon here in the fighting town of Flint, Michigan, so I can't complain, man. The sun is out, and we're on the eve of the start of the 2025-2026 campaign. Preseason begins tomorrow, and I got to be honest with you, man. I'm fired up. It was nice because I needed a break. I got the needed break away from the Premier League, but now I'm ready to go. So
itching. Well, it's good to have you back. And we have the regular cohorts and co-owners of the show to my left or right, depending on which way you're looking. We have Ian. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. An evening, Peter, 7:06 in Melbourne, so that's cool. Welcome along. Yeah, I'm good. Been a frustrating week, obviously, on the Spurs front, but I think there's a lot more to come. I just posted a link earlier to say that I'm seeing reports, unconfirmed at the moment, that Aston Villa have agreed, or Nottingham Forest have agreed a deal to sign Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa. That was, I think, one of the things that they weren't selling now until they've got at least one replacement in the door. I'm really, really hoping this is going to happen. Forest go on their pre-season tour on Monday. Adrian, when do we fly off to the Far East?
We've got Reading tomorrow and Luton the week after before we go off to the Far East. I've got the banners are in the chat. We can talk about that later.
We've got banners that basically go over the first couple of weeks, so we'll certainly get into those.
I will have Callum on the show on Sunday night, all being well. Couple of really lovely donations in there from membership. So thanks, guys. Super Spurs TV. That's you. No, that's Blaine, isn't it?
Blaine.
That's Blaine and
Peter
as well. Look, that's more important than me waffling on. But I should hopefully have a big update from Callum on Sunday night. I think we will know by Sunday which way the wind's blowing with Morgan Gibbs-White. Still, we'll get. It's gone a bit quiet with Wharton, but I'm reading and I'm hearing that things are getting closer with him. So maybe we'll have a really good week this week, having had a frustrating one this week. But yeah, all good.
Adrian, how are you?
Chat so far.
I'm fine.
Please, everybody, hit the like.
Yeah, missed out. He swapped the heat of Spain for tropical Scotland.
I know. Hey?
Yeah, I'm fine. Looking forward to it. We're doing well as a group. And I'm sure it will continue. We'll go from strength to strength. We'll build on what we've already built on, and I'm sure we'll be, we'll be what we want to be, which is a quality Spurs group.
All right. Well, I'm going to introduce a few people in the chat. Just want to welcome some people in. We've got Blaine, as usual, Super Spurs TV. Thank you very much. Already putting in a super chat. Says it's Fun Time Friday with the folks. Share your love and support Ian, Adrian, Drew, and Steve for their efforts in this show. It takes a lot behind the scenes. Big up, guys. Thank you very much, Blaine. It's always amazing to have you on, and just a lovely member of the community. So thank you so much. And then we've got he's come right in again with 10 gifted memberships. So that's awesome as well.
Wow.
So please,
phenomenal.
If you're in the chat, do thank Blaine for his kind generosity.
Yeah.
And then we also have Peter, who's come in with 5 gifted memberships. So thank you, guys. It's guys like you that keep us going. I just want to say a couple of words to a couple of people in the chat as well. We've got, Nige Purecoy's in here. Nige, how you doing, mate? Thank you for tuning in. Kevin Stanbridge, Callum Stubbs, Spotlight on Spurs. Oh, Luke, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Milton Nebrega, Mr. B Knight. So it's the usual suspects. If there was a lineup, you would all be in it. We've got Simon Small. Big up to you. So let's get into it. I mean, Ian pretty much rounded up the show, so I think we're done.
Thanks for coming. Good night. Yeah.
Thanks for coming, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Right, we'll start off with things absolutely on everybody's mind, and it is the Morgan Gibbs White saga. And as Ian pointed out, I think there was some movement today in the way of a bid from Forest to Villa for, did you say Jacob Ramsey? I think it was.
Yeah.
So we can only hope that that will be the domino that starts this off. I mean, what are our thoughts, Ian? We'll start with you. What is it? Something that you want? Are you eager for this to be done? And if so, why?
Funnily enough, I need to make a confession here. And I was on a show last week, and I think it was with Ash Matic and with Coach Dave. And Ash was extolling the virtues, and Ash knows his football. Let's not be under any illusions. His analysis is superb. And he was extolling the virtues of Morgan Gibbs White. And Dave and I were a little bit, does he really take us to the level that we really need? But when you look at as last season, and you look at perhaps the inability to create from good positions, that ability to really run at a defence, that ability to find the killer pass, and I'm more and more thinking, particularly with his energy and the way Thomas Frank likes to play, that Morgan Gibbs White will be a very, very important player for us. Very important player. So, yeah, I'm really excited, and I would be very disappointed now if it didn't come. Before you bring other people in on that, I just need to say a very big thank you to Blaine. Do you mind if I just put that up? Because just the comments, for our efforts to put the shows takes a lot of work behind the scenes. We do a fair bit of work and thought about what we want to do on the shows. So it's wonderful when that's appreciated and we get in the numbers, we're getting the subscribers and what have you. I just need to say thanks, Blaine, because it's great when you're appreciated for what you do. It makes every minute you spend doing it worthwhile. And for everybody else in the chat as well. A lot of you are there supporting us every show. It's fabulous. Thanks.
Absolutely. Steve, I guess with the situation with the squad at the moment, with the likes of James Maddison, who I know is back in some form of light training, he's at least back on the grass, but I don't know how much of a ball he's kicking.
He's back in training. He's back in training part-time right now.
Yeah, exactly. So light training, but we don't know how far he is away from actually, full, all guns blazing. And with the fact that Kulusevski's a little ways out, Donnelly's still, regardless of what he did last year, is still wet behind the ears when it comes to Premier League football. If Morgan Gibbs White comes in, is he the starter at the moment with the way things stand at 10?
I would assume. That being said, the question really is how quick he can pick it up. Let's remember that the bulk of this crew is learning a new vision, a new style of attack that they're also going to have to adjust to as well. On top of the fact that Morgan Gibbs White is coming from a different, different tactical background. So yeah, I would assume that that's probably going to be the play. I would assume that Jamie Donnelly is probably until James Maddison gets back is probably going to start. There's going to be heavy rotation, but until James Maddison himself is up to speed, and then also on the training pitch getting repetitions, I would assume that Morgan Gibbs White is probably going to be that guy, at least in rotation to start with Jamie Donnelly. I would probably assume. I mean, you're not going to spend $65 million on a player and then not play him. So yeah,
no, absolutely. Just real quick, I've got my shenanigans back together. The recipients of the memberships, we had Dope Boy Jr., We Are Spurs TV, Hotspur Hub, Soshi, and Kate and Jimbo, The Perfect Match. And then we also had Lord Rodney Trotter, Lily White India, Jordan, John Shuri, Starman Floating in the Sky, Finn McMullin, Tom Thacker, Chris, the Roadman. So if you are here, just be sure to give those guys a thanks, because again, it's things like that that keep us going. So it's much appreciated. Adrian, it's a sure thing, right? Morgan Gibbs White, he'll be in a couple of days, and we can move on. And I think as our friend Nige has just mentioned in the chat, says it's happening, people. Morgan Gibbs White has followed a removal company on the socials.
Hey, by the way, just quickly, that from what I'm hearing is that the terms between Morgan Gibbs White, his agent, and Tottenham Hotspur is actually complete. What's really the holdup is the fact that Nottingham Forest is trying to create leverage in order to extract as much money as they possibly can out of this. But that being said, with the addition of Jacob Ramsey in the fold, I would probably assume that we're going to hear something by Monday.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
on the Morgan Gibbs White,
go on.
my logic, I'm not going to get in the ring with Ian, who's like got more legal experience than I ever have. But to my logic, Levy's not paying a penny more. That's legally binding in that contract.
Correct.
Even if another club were to come in, it's legally binding. He's not paying a penny more for this. And with Maranakis, whatever his name is, if he had such a strong case, he wouldn't be threatening legal action. He would have taken legal action, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not having this. Morgan Gibbs White will be a Spurs player.
100%.
On the other thing that Drew mentioned about the number 10, I read that Kudus, one of the reasons when Arsenal went for Kudus, I don't know if you guys see it, was that he wanted to play on the 10. He wanted to play on the 10. Did you guys hear this at all?
I think, I think that's waffle.
BS.
I
you know what? I can't help thinking that's basically them saying, "Oh, we've let that go. You know, we've decided to back off of this deal because he came up with some demands and we weren't prepared to do it." And I don't want to be that guy, but I just can't help thinking that he just wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
He wasn't interested. Have a word. Do you know what I mean? What are we doing? What are we doing? Ian, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think it's crap. I think let me tell you where I think that Frank wants the starting team against Burnley on the 16th. It's the 16th, isn't it, of Burnley to be high Nita. I think he's going to be looking to be something along the lines of presumably Vicario in goal, but that the same back four. Let's assuming that Romero is staying.
Yes.
Wharton and Bergvall, and then hear me out here. Xavi Simons, Morgan Gibbs White, Kudus right, and Solanke forward. That's where I think he's trying to take us as a starting 11 in the first game. The Xavi Simons thing, and I don't know if Callum is on still. I know he's got other things going on. But I know that the Simmons link, and I know he's been linked with Chelsea and Arsenal today, but I know Spurs have a big interest in him. But it's conditional upon at least one of, if not both, Richarlison and Sonny leaving. So we will see. But Spurs, think, fancy Xavi Simons for that left-hand role.
Sorry, just a pause on that for a second, Ian. I've been told I need to twirl. Do we have any idea who might be on the back of this? You want a little guess before I give it the full reveal?
Yep. Let's go with Christian Eriksen.
No.
Werner.
No. Werner, get out of here. What are you talking about?
Van de Ven. There it is.
Mickey Van de Ven.
There we go. Mickey Van de Ven. Brilliant. Thank you, Beast. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you.
Maybe we should have a karaoke
I just have to, what the fans ask for, the fans get on Spurs Die Hard. So I had to do the little 12. But sorry, carry on, Ian.
Yeah, no. That's me. I think that's where we're trying to get in there and try, and what have you. But I think that whole front line or that front 4-2-3-1 is being overhauled. lack of creativity, lack
yeah.
of pace, lack of power last season.
Yeah.
And I think
For
that's
sure.
what Thomas Frank is going to overcome. And I think
that's a lot of money that's getting, a lot of money got to be invested for that to happen, isn't it? Where's that coming from?
Well, you might well ask.
Crowdfunding.
Exactly.
Right.
By the way, we all know exactly where it's coming from.
Daniel Levy lives in the Bishop's Avenue, or off the Bishop's Avenue in Totteridge, and the houses there are absolutely huge. Yeah, cheers, Blaine. And there is a money tree that's taken 20 years. He planted it when he took over Tottenham, and it's now coming to fruition. And in September, like the apples, it sheds its fruit, and there are £300 million on that apple tree. On another note, I think it's more realistic to think that there is investment, and I don't think we're going to find out what it is yet, because I think the club is not publicly quoted, so it doesn't need to make declarations to the stock exchange. It just needs to fulfill its obligations under the Companies Act. If there's money coming in by way of investment, I don't think that has to be declared. If there's new shares, I think I said on the show on Tuesday or even last Sunday that it has to be declared within 4 weeks or a month of it being coming to fruition. I think we'll know realistically by this time in August, and I think we'd have done our business by then. I think by the start of the season, I think, barring any last-minute opportunities or a couple of younger players to supplement the squad, I think we'd have done our business. I think whether there's Saudi money, American money, shirt sponsorship, stadium naming rights, share issues, or a combination of all five, we will find out. But there is no doubt in my mind that there is serious money coming into the club, because we have never spent money like this this early in a window ever.
Yeah. Steve, what's your take on it? Because obviously I see you nodding there, and we have to give praise where it's due. Steve dropped the knowledge on Mohammed Kudus a couple of days before it happened. I was questioning it. I was saying it's not going to happen until it happens, and so I got to give it up. So, Steve, Oracle, where's the money?
That's a great question. No, so here's the thing, and I've been hearing along with a couple of the people that there was going to be investment this summer, and of course Ian actually kind of hit it right on the head that we won't actually know publicly, until they actually want to make it public. But the reality is that this was actually something that was a long time coming. And I think when you look at the some of the moves that were made within the executive branch of Tottenham Hotspur, it almost seemed like the Ducks were kind of in a row for something to happen, whether it's going to be a small investment with the eye of a future takeover, or whether it was just going to be an investment when it came to small shares. The interesting thing is that from what I was told, like the Lewis Trust doesn't want to be involved in football anymore. They don't want to be they just don't want to be involved in Tottenham Hotspur anymore. Now, whether or not that we're on the cusp of hearing something of a potential full takeover of whatever shares that the Lewis Trust wants to sell, if they want to get rid of the entire ownership, their ownership stake, I don't know, but I would probably just assume that we are on the cusp of some very big news when it comes to investment on the investment front, whether it's for small shares or the Lewis Trust just decided to back out and sell their majority stake.
Fair play. Adrian, what's your take, mate?
My take is I think we've got more than one or two deals in the offing here. I don't think, as rumoured, ENIC are investing. They don't need to if you've got a big investor coming in. I don't think, and we may have a naming rights deal coming as well, but that's only going to pay the interest each year. If that's for 15 years at 25 mil, that just pays the interest on our debt, which is good to have. Let's not knock it. It's good to have.
No, yeah, it's nice having a bit coming in. Every little helps, right?
Yeah, I think rumours of a Saudi investment, yes. Possibly USA, more likely Saudi. And I also think we're going to have a new shirt deal. I think we're in the last year of the AI deal, and that is a bigger deal than the stadium naming rights deal. That we're talking like 60 million a year or something like that. So I think we've got more than one deal that will be announced. Could be wrong. It might a Saudi deal would be enough if it is the rumored 300 mil. That would be enough. But I mean, I don't know. But it just the amount of money we're spending. It smells of a large investment, and by large, you're talking
exactly
about
right.
200. You're talking a minimum 250 mil, aren't you? I mean, 300 mil. And if it's someone who wants to come in and invest in the club as part of a phased takeover, then like 300 mil really is peanuts. The stadium's worth.
Is this actually gathering momentum? Beast says here, if Isak goes to Saudi, Uyghur gives White a top 6, maybe one more to come in. We're leapfrogging Newcastle, as far as I'm concerned. Is Isak to Saudi gathering momentum, or is that just a vicious rumor?
I haven't heard
know?
that. So
No.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious because that would be. I mean, if he decided to go there at his age, that would be, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing.
I mean, if you consider the fact he's done well at Newcastle and he's a player that's won trophies, you could understand if he was going to Barcelona, Real Madrid, PSG, or Bayern.
Oh, I could even understand it. I could even understand if he was going to Liverpool, if they decided, you know what I mean? If there was any kind of interest
Liverpool
from.
would like to take him, but they spent a lot of money on Florian Wirtz. So I don't know where all this money coming from. They're not breaking no rules, but
Right. Oh, Blaine says rumours, Drew. He was apparently given permission to speak to clubs. Yeah, because Newcastle were like, yeah, you can speak to him, no worries. Because I can't imagine any of them are turning in your head. But I don't know. Stranger things have happened, right? Stranger things have happened.
They'd let him speak to clubs if he wasn't happy. Saudi wouldn't have come in and going to pay 200 million for him.
Yeah.
Of course, they let him speak to him. Yeah.
I always think it's a shame if a player of that quality leaves Europe for Saudi. I've got no problem with some of the washed up old players, like Ronaldo and what have you. But Isak is by any standard is a top striker.
And I heard that Al Hilal is prepared to make a crazy ass offer for him. And I guess it makes sense for them because Al Hilal is Saudi's best team and they compete in their version of the Champions League and things like that. So they're very aggressive. But as far as players are concerned, the only reason why you would go over there is because you're about to make generational money, and that would be the only reason why you're going there because the competition level in the Saudi Pro League is below Major League Soccer at this point.
Yeah.
And also, what we don't know what the mentality of players is. You've got ambition, you've got money. They're all going to be multi-millionaires. Even all our guys at the academy, they're not staying with us, but they're all going to be millionaires because they're good at that level. They might not be good enough to.
Yeah, but this is generational money that you're not going to be able to make. We're talking like crazy per year.
You might be a player that just wants to chase the money. I wouldn't knock him for it.
No.
But like as Ian, I agree with Ian. It's sad when good players leave. Like just for the money, when they're going to have more money than they're ever going to spend in their lives anyway. I mean, like I think it's sad for football, but it is what it is, as an old manager would say.
Here's what it is. Well, I tell you what, that's a great segue, Adrian, into Thomas Frank and his press conference. Obviously, he had his first proper one today. It was kind of interesting. I've got to say. Me personally, I was a little bit underwhelmed. He talked very well. He talked very nice. It was all very good. But the last time we had a new manager, I just felt like there was a bit more of a we're gonna, regardless of whether it was a pipe dream. Ange came in and said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to win. And I kind of was a bit like, yeah, let's do it, let's change. And this Thomas Frank sort of come in and he's a very calm, very assured, very like, okay, let's just settle down. And maybe that's exactly what we need. I mean, he spoke very well about wanting to challenge and wanting to progress. But I've still got a really cautious. I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure if this is going to work. I really, really want it to work. I don't know. Am I just being? I don't know. Have I just got a weird Ange thing going on that I can't get rid of, Ian? Or what is it? Like, do I have a right to this? Like, what is it? What is it?
Was I on the show on Tuesday? Or I can't remember if I was or not. Now,
You was.
Because I think I didn't say it on my show. I said it on Tuesday. Because Kev was on. Is that I was disappointed. Everybody who knows me knows I was disappointed when Ange left. I thought he'd earned the right to at least start the season and see what he could do. But now when you look at it, and Levy would have known this, that we're about to spend, let's say, net £200 million. Let's say we're going to spend £200 million net. You take a view, would you give Ange that money in the knowledge that if it doesn't work out, you're going to fire him maybe by the end of October? That would make sense. So they brought in somebody that they think can do a job. He wouldn't have been my first choice. I've said I'll stick to my guns that Glasner would have been my first choice. Won the FA Cup, won the Europa League as well with unfashionable clubs. I think I love the way his teams play. I think tactically he's really, really astute. He did Manchester City up in the final. He got it right, haven't I? Or he did Villa up in the semi-final. Got that the right way around, haven't I? He tactically outthought Emery and Pep. But we've got Thomas Frank. I actually like what Frank's doing. I like the way he's putting together the players, and they're better players than he had at Brentford, in his own image, to play the way he visualises a Spurs team playing. I'm not over worried. I didn't see the press conference. I read most of what he said. He's never going to say. He's probably a little bit nervous. It's a big job, big club, completely different setup to Brentford, or the setup's the same. It's just everything's 10 times bigger. I would give him time, Drew, if I'm honest.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think what
sure.
really matters is when his teams go out on the field, that they express Thomas Frank's football. That's the key.
Yeah, no, and as I say, I was just ever since it's happened, I've just had this little thing in my stomach, like this is just a big sea change. But I'm here for it. Joe Blogg says Frank is bread and butter, a staple of most diets. Fair play, big up to you, Joe. Kevin Stanbridge says I think he played down everything, didn't want to give anything away. Rather we are reserved about Frank and get carried away like lots of people, and that's I absolutely get that. And then Spurs GCTV, big up Graham, says Drew, he was very measured in his responses. And that's true. And like I say, maybe we need that. Maybe we need somebody to take a deep breath before he starts saying things, because, love him or hate him, Ange did have a tendency to say some things that baffled some people. So, as I say, I'm definitely here for it. And I just need to, I need to just get over it and just bite the bullet on it. And I think I really just want to see the game tomorrow. I really want to see, and I know it's only the first game and I shouldn't expect much, but I think once I see him out there and once I see Thomas Frank on the sidelines, it'll all start to make sense in my head that we've changed managers and we're about to go again. So it'll be all good. David Shire, g'day, mate. Good to see you. And he says, just a weird closet Aussie, Drew. And I think that might have been the case. I think I genuinely wanted to be. Although you'll never catch me in Australia because you got deadly, dangerous everythings. But big up to you lot down there. Thank you very much for joining us. Adrian, we're about 30 minutes in. Did you just want to plug the channel for a second, and then we'll carry on the conversation with tomorrow's game?
A good segue. Yeah, 104 of you watching us now, which is excellent. We are a relatively new group. We've been going a year, but we do have various other groups. I mean, I started a Facebook group 6 years ago when the stadium opened. That's got 14,500 members. We've got an XCOM, formerly Twitter group. Me and Ian are on there. We're posting and putting shorts on there now. That's got in my account, there's like 3,250 members, which has grown quite quickly actually. And the video streams go out there. We've got a Facebook page where the video streams go out as well. Our shows go out every Tuesday, Friday tonight, as you're aware, and Sundays. Ian hosts a Sunday show. Drew hosts the Friday show with me. I usually co-host and co-host with Ian on Sundays. On Tuesdays, I host, but Tom, our other fellow amp, who's got a newborn now, so he's very busy. He will be co-hosting me on Tuesdays or Wednesdays when the Champions League comes down, when he's available. So we're going to raise his profile as well. So if you like our content, I mean, we do pride ourselves on being a very fact-based, mature and sensible Spurs group. If you like our content, please hit that subscribe button down in the bottom right-hand corner. And we have memberships for those of you who are interested in membership. We have generous members already that will give out memberships, which is good. But if you like us, like I say, big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to all your comments and those viewers, and a very big up to everyone that's watching on playback. And with that, I think I thanked everyone apart from God and his mum and dad. Back to you, Drew.
Steve, we've got Reading tomorrow at it used to be the Majeski Stadium when I was a wee nipper. It's now some sort of auto car leasing loan stadium or something. I don't even know the name of this place.
It's a parking lot, is what you're saying.
Basically, I think a couple of people putting down jumpers at either end, and we're just going to play like that. No, that's disrespectful to Reading. They're a great little club, but we do have them tomorrow. I think Thomas Frank alluded to the fact that we're potentially most likely going to see two teams tomorrow, because he said that Sonny would be captain and Romero would be captain. So that kind of leans towards two different teams each half. I mean, what are we? I mean, it's the first game of preseason. Obviously, we're not expecting much. But what do you want to see? I mean, is it just going to be everyone just getting minutes in their legs and just seeing what the fitness is like? I mean, as far as patterns of play and things like that, I mean, we're not looking for too much, not looking too deep into it, are we?
No, I wouldn't think so. I think for me, it's just attention to detail. This is the first opportunity for this crew to get back on the pitch under a new manager. So, for me, it's the terminology, learning the spatial awareness of your teammates in a new system, the fine attention to detail moving forward in the attack, whether it's build up or whether it's on the counter attack. But mostly for me, on top of making sure that you get minutes into your legs, all of that's great. But for me, the biggest thing is getting through this match injury free. You know what I mean? I think for me that is the priority. I don't necessarily care the formation or necessarily care the fact that there's going to be two teams. Most of these guys, this is their first opportunity to get back on the pitch after after a little, about a month and a half layoff since the end of last season. And it's a good opportunity to hit the ground running. So I guess from that standpoint, would I like to see some passion? Sure, that'd be great. Right. But then again, it's not paramount. For me, it's making sure that they get through this thing injury free. No big injuries, no knocks, no niggles, nothing like that. Just being able to play a clean 45, get off the pitch, and let the second team come in and do their job as well too, and then move on to Luton. Yeah,
fair play. Adrian, same question to you. I mean, you've been around long enough to know that pre-seasons are much of a muchness, right? It's just getting minutes in legs. But are there any? I guess now, if you're gonna look at any of the youngsters that are champing at the bit to actually make an impact, these would be the games that maybe you look for that, don't you? Do you think any of them are going to be given a chance to try and claim a spot?
Yeah, I think it'll be a game of two halves in the sense that there's going to be loads of substitutions. And players will be given half. We know that Maddison and Kula are not fit, so they probably won't play a part. Which might
probably Donnelly's going to get at least a half, you would think, right?
Yeah, unless Kudus plays in the 10. So you have that option. I mean, Odebert can play there. Sonny's played there. It's just seeing what Frank does on normal match days. What I usually look at after 5 or 6 games, what I look for is usually a sort of regular 11 that the manager plays, and I always take a good look at the 9 on the bench. If everyone's fit, I'm thinking, okay, that's 20. Who you left out of this squad of 25? Who is really not the flavour if everyone's fit? and it's a good clue into the insight of the manager when you look at the bench and you've got your starting 11. And I highly recommend that to people that are watching, like, you know, because like then you start, and as after a few games, when you see how it changes slightly, you get an idea into the manager's thinking. But tomorrow, that's out the window because he could pick any team at all, you know, for this. He'll have watched them in training. He's only had a few training sessions.
Well, and as B says here,
Yeah.
he's been drilling them pretty heavy. I've seen him been going quite hard. So, and it seems to be a lot of the people we've been talking about involved. I've seen Jamie Donnelly in a couple of clips. I know Archie Gray's been sort of first and forefront of some of the videos as well. What do we think when it comes to Archie Gray? Just to tangent, just a tad. He was obviously wanted by Brentford, especially when Thomas Frank was there. Ian, do you think Archie Gray's the answer to the defensive mid? I'm hesitant to say 6 because we don't know if it will be single or double pivot.
Yeah.
But do you think he can actually make a strong impact this season and follow on from last year, or do you think we still need a real defensive-minded midfielder in there? And do you think there's one in the pipeline?
Yeah, well, I think Morton is targeted to come, and I see Gray being a squad player. But can I take a step back about tomorrow? I think what I think about. I'll come on back to what you asked, but I think tomorrow is going to be really interesting for the players that are involved, and perhaps the players that aren't involved. I'll be interested. You mentioned the name Donnelly, and I think it would be interesting if Donnelly's involved. Someone like Abbott, for example, does he see them joining up with the first team squad now? How much time, if any, will Mikey Moore get? These are all players on the fringes. Archie Gray, another one. Dorrington, I gather, is not in the squad to go to Asia. And the word on the street is he's out the door. I'll be interested as well if he gives Phillips any time. And I'll be interested if he gives Vuskovic any time.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to tell us, that's going to tell me, are these players that he sees as being first team material now? And if not, will he send them out on loan? I don't think they'll sell Phillips, although I suspect if they got, there was rumours of a £6 million deal to take him to Sheffield United. That seems to have gone a little bit quiet. But, for example, if Vuskovic came on and started the second half, that would give me an indication he really sees Vuskovic as having a first-team future. So that's, I think you'll see time, Odebear play, Tell play. Is Maddison fit to play at all tomorrow?
No.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. So I think we'll see some of that. But as I say, I think it will be interesting. Going back to the Archie Gray situation, what worries me a little bit, a little bit about Archie Gray is he going to be one of those jack of all trades but master of none? He played a bit at right back, he played a bit at centre half. Is he going to be good enough to get himself into our first team? And whether is that as a 6 or an 8, I'm not sure. I'll be interested in what happens with Archie Gray. I don't think we'll be selling him. And I don't think we'll be loaning him. But I think it will be interesting if he's genuinely a squad player or if he's now ready to make that step and force himself into the starting lineup.
Right. Well, sort of the reason I asked was because obviously I know we've got the game tomorrow and they're going to start coming thick and fast. But all next week we are expecting some sort of movement to happen with some players. And I mentioned at the beginning, we've been linked to everybody and their son. But here's just a list of a few potential ins and outs that has been mentioned even just over the last week. And there's a couple of names in here. The reason I brought up Archie Gray is because there are links to Belieber, there are links to Wharton, as you said, there are links to Hackney, and even saw a link today again, the Joao Gomez rumours hotting up again. We've got Polinia in here. We've got Richard Rios, who arguably is a deep line midfielder. So, like you say, he's going to he's got to have an idea of who he thinks is going to make it and who he thinks isn't. But just with the amount of players that we've got or we've been linked to in that position, I just wonder if they're thinking to themselves that regardless, we need something, we need a little bit more steel in there. Like of all the positions in midfield, that defensive, I'm just going to stop playing and then give the ball to somebody else. That seems to be the position that everybody sort of says is the bit that we're lacking. Now, I guess the argument is that maybe we were lacking that in an Ange system. Are we necessarily going to be lacking that in a Frank system? Is something like that still needed? Or does his coaching make up for the inadequacies of last season's performances?
No, because I think it's a talent issue, right? I think there's a massive drop off between starting, the first team starting in Rodrigo Betancourt, and then the fall off drops dramatically after that. And I think that regardless of the way that Yves Bissouma played towards the end of last season, I still don't think that that warrants another look for this upcoming season. So after that, it's Archie Gray, it's Lucas Bergvall, and then from that point, it's now you have even a master drop off, because we're talking about two kids that still absolutely need to develop at the Premier League level. And of course, with Archie Gray specifically, he just has not had that time at the center defensive mid position, where the juice just isn't worth the squeeze yet. Now, that's not saying that he's not going to be a very good footballer. It's right now, right? Can you trust to give him minutes in rotation in the Premier League, Champions League, and of course the two domestic cup competitions? And maybe on a small scale, you might be able to say yes, but overall, there still is an absolute need to bring in somebody that not only is going to be able to come in and get those minutes, but also challenge to walk into the starting 11, to walk into the first team and challenge starting 11 minutes. And that's where that's for me is where the rub is, because that's currently what we don't have. Whether that's an Ange Postecoglou system or Thomas Frank system, right? For me, it's the talent wills out, right? And so while I do recognize that Rodrigo Betancourt is a phenomenal player, I still think that there's going to be an opportunity to get somebody that is actually going to be a little bit better for him. So I'm going to ask you guys right now, if you had the choice between Adam Morton and Rodrigo Betancourt, are you guys taking Morton to step into the first team starting right now?
Adrian? I don't know. It's a good question.
I want to pick up before that. I want to pick up on the Archie Gray thing, because I am a big fan. I think it's a fantastic.
I am too.
Well, no, I am too. The reason I'm doing it is I've seen this I've heard this in other podcasts, right? Now we know Betancourt he's the more sexy midfielder, right? Fine. But with Gray and even with Betancourt, you've got to look at what they've done, right? Gray has come into the team as an 18-year-old, played left back, right back, centre back, had a good first half against Brighton as a central midfielder, right? And done well. All right, he's caught a cold here and there in games, but he's 18 to be able to do that. And now he's won, an under-21 championship, Euro championship medal with England, and he's won a Europa League medal, right? The belief and confidence it's going to give that player, and he's never lacked confidence anyway.
That's really an unknown. It's really an unknown quantity, isn't it? So I'll let you carry on, Adrian. But that's really an unknown quantity of winning something, and how much confidence that's going to give them, right?
And I believe. I mean, when they say if you're good enough, you put them in. I watched him against Leeds, against Chelsea in the FA Cup. I watched him play for Leeds when we're interested. Like, I go and watch loads of players, and to me, he's oven ready, as is Bergvall. They're both oven ready. Now, I get the fact that fans are going on, what's his best position? We ain't seen him here and that. He got bullied a bit by Delap in the Ipswich game. There's a couple of games you could, but he's never let the team down, really. And when people talk about it, he was iffy in this game, he's in. Hang about, he played 28 games last season. 28 games. How many times was he actually bad? And to do that as an 18-year-old or 19-year-old in the Premier League is like, when you're pitch side and you're close down the pitch and you watch how fast the games is, you realise that to be able to do that, he's got vision, he can tackle, he's got a good ranging pass. He's not frightened to try that pass down the right hand side when he's playing at fullback. I think this kid's got it all. He's never going to be looked at as fantastically sexy. You'll get him when Dyer was at his best, or when Jan was at his best for Spurs, you might get a few accolades there. I mean, Dyer got man of the match awards in midfield. People might forget that, but I think this kid's. I think he's got it. He's just got it. And if I'm wrong, people can throw pelts at me. I think this kid's oven ready.
Adrian,
I've got no qualms about playing him in a
Adrian.
final tomorrow.
Adrian, I think Ian hit it for me was the fact that last year he was used as jack of all trades and master of none. He was used in different areas where he was not allowed to develop at his natural position. We only saw him in a handful of times playing his natural position. And it was, I don't know how you guys felt about it. I thought he played well at different positions, but in his natural position, he wasn't necessarily given the run out that he absolutely needed to develop at it. And now you come into this season, and I guess the question is like, if he's given a run out of 3,500 minutes, are you confident he's going to be able to have the tactical awareness, but also the pace to hang in the Premier League over a course of a full season? And that's just something that we don't know, because the sample size for Archie Gray is so small right now.
What more? My question to fans: what more would you expect of a 19-year-old playing in different positions, who's served in so many positions? What more would you expect? I mean, like, even if you brought in a renowned left back, right back to do that job, what more would you expect of them? We could say, like, you Doggy, I'm a big fan of you, Doggy. Last season, he was shit, right, for most of the season. But I don't think that detracts from his quality. I think he's going to go and smash it. I think he's got potential to be one of the best left-sided defenders on the planet. But, like, but I've got to say it when I say it. I mean, like, he was rubbish last year. He come good towards the last of the season. That's why we won the Europa League, because a few players kicked on, stepped up, right? What would you actually expect of Archie Gray for him to be sexy in your eyes when you're? I don't necessarily
expect. I don't necessarily want more, but when you say he's oven ready, I think
that means you're prepared to give him 3,500 minutes, and he's starting
right.
The season.
And I don't know.
And I don't think the sample size isn't. Yeah, the sample size isn't there to say that you are 100% confident he's able to step into the starting 11 and kick on for the course of the full season.
And that's not to say. And I don't. And Adrian, I don't disagree with you. I think he's Adrian. Let me have a
squad. Go on, sorry.
Well, yeah, but I completely agree with you. I think he's fantastic, and I don't want to get rid of him. But when you say he's oven ready, I think isolated. If you're talking about a Saturday in the Premier League, then I think probably on his day, yes, he can hold his own. I think, as to Steve's point, what he's alluded to, 38 games in the Premier League, at least 8 games in the Champions League. I just don't know. When you say oven ready, I just don't. When I think of oven ready, I think of a player that can step in and do that. And I just think is he not still a bit too young for that to be expected of him? Will we not run the risk of sort of burning him out if we just throw him out there like that week in, week out?
Not to me. And Ian hasn't spoken for a while. I mean, like, I'm of the opinion that, like, fans fall into the trap of thinking starting 11. We got to start thinking of a squad, which is basically.
I couldn't agree with you more.
You can't have 25 good players. Even Man City can keep them happy. But you got to start squeaking of a squad.
If you're looking at a squad, a proper squad, then if you're looking, for example, as the pivots, if you're telling me next year we're going into the season with Wharton, with Bentancur, with Bergvall and Gray, there's not going to be many teams in Europe or in England that have got a better 4 players playing that pivot than those 4. And when you think 2 of them are still teenagers with masses of improvement, and Wharton is only Wharton's only 21 or something, isn't he?
So I think you look at 21, 22.
Yeah, so you look at the improvement in those players. If you take, and I know I'm, Gibbs White, Kudus, another, and you've got Odebear, you've got Tell, you've got Madison, Kulusevski, Johnson. I thought that I know we won a big cup, but we really underachieved in so many games last season. I mean, genuinely, I think, when you think of some of the kids coming through as well, whether it's Abbott, Vuskovic, Abbott, Moore, Donnelly, there's so many good players, potentially good players. They won't all make it. But you look at the potential of that squad. And one thing I think you can say about Thomas Frank, and you can't say that about Ange. Thomas Frank improves players, and I think he will improve every player that we've got, and that does appeal to me. That appeals to me enormously.
Well, Graham just brings up a really good point here. Says they'll want to keep Gray in the squad, not to break his time in becoming a club-trained player. And I guess there's an argument that because that is becoming, I don't know, maybe more and more important, or certainly prevalent, there is going to be an argument that more people are going to want to keep their youngsters around so as not to break that consecutive 3-year cycle, right? Go on.
But I also think with Graham Bergvall, although they came in, they weren't academy trained, so they couldn't go on the under-21B list.
Big up, Lily White.
I think they're going to qualify this season for that. I'm not sure. So the homegrown issue, I'm not sure. I'm not sure now, actually. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me bring up this list again, because I do want to ask if we're done with the midfield for now. Where else are we thinking? Because Ian quite rightly pointed out earlier on that we've got Vicario and the 5 at the back, and I can't see really much change there. Plus, you've got obviously very good deputies in Spence for either of the right back, left back. You've got a deputy in Danzo for one of the centre backs. We're obviously a plethora of centre backs. What's the next important part of this squad, Steve? Where needs to be improved next? Who needs to go out? Who needs to come in?
That's a very great question. I'm glad you asked it, Drew, because I've been stewing on this one the entire offseason. And it has to be up top at striker, because as of right now, you're looking at a situation of what we saw a lot of last year, where Dominic Solanke is most likely going to be left on an island because Richarlison takes one step on the turf at the lane, and all of a sudden he breaks his ankle, strains his calf, injures his quad, and all of a sudden he's out for 5 weeks. And it's a massive risk for this club to go into another season with Richarlison. Yes, we know that he's a fine player, but the problem with Richarlison is he just can't stay healthy long enough to actually have an impact on the squad. And now reports are coming out that Palmeiras of the Brazilian Premier League has offered $55 million for Richarlison. And if that's the case, then you 100% take it. And I think this is an opportunity for Spurs to get creative with the striker position, because there's a handful of players right off the top of my head that have absolutely crushed in other domestic top flights that are ready to make that step up to the Premier League. That would fill absolutely beautiful roles for Tottenham Hotspur that are probably going to be in that 40 to 60 million pound range. And it's an opportunity for Spurs to get creative. And it's not necessarily just bring in a rotational striker, somebody that is going to be able to step in and challenge Dominic Solanke for his starting spot, if not eclipse it, but also being able to be into that 10 to 17 goal range on the season, which is exactly what you want from your 1A, 1B striker. And so for me, there's no doubt that this club needs to improve that number 9 position. And me personally, I think if you can get 55 for Richarlison, you take it 100%. I just think this team can get far more creative when it comes to that striker position.
And I'll just follow up with that.
Who
do you go for?
There's 3 that are on my list, really very high on my list. And the first one comes from PSB in the Eredivisie. It's the U.S. international Ricardo Pepi. Last year, he actually overtook De Jong as that primary striker in that attack, and he was actually lighting the world on fire until he actually caught that knee injury. He's going to be ready to start the season this year, and you're looking at a price tag somewhere in that $35 to $45 million range. Also, Luis Openda from RB Leipzig, who is their primary striker as well too. Word is that Tottenham, on top of Xavi Simons, are looking at Luis Openda. He's a guy that can come in and play the primary, or he can also play that secondary striker if you're going to go in a two-striker system that can play off the shoulder. But that being said, there's also someone down in the championship that's ready to make that leap. And again, I turn back to my American faithfuls, Josh Sargent of Norwich City, who has lit the championship up, 20 goal seasons and back-to-back seasons for Norwich City, and he's actually now being linked to 3 different Premier League teams. And it's a price tag again in that $30 to $40 million range. Somebody that's going to be able to stay healthy and can potentially score 15 to 17 goals. There's a lot of creativity out there, and guys that are ready to step in and fill that role, and who can be relied upon to score goals.
Interesting. Adrian, what's your thoughts on the next piece of the puzzle?
I think it has to be a DM first. I mean, the only way I see us getting a striker is if we get rid of Richarlison, to be honest. Other than that, and I don't think there's no hurry. I think the more urgent position to fill is DM, personally. And I get what Steve's saying. I mean, I'd like a striker, but I just think that get the DM first. And we've been linked. I'll tell you what the beauty of this transfer window is, because we've got the smell of investment. We are being linked with quality footballers. Everyone being linked with is quality, which is excellent, right? So that is excellent. We wouldn't have thought this way. We're going to have the best window we've ever had under Levy, right? That's going to happen. So who we get in as a DM, I don't know. We've been linked with loads, haven't we? Rios and Hormond and Larson and, Paulina, who's a bit old to fit the profile, Louise, Joe Gomez at Wolves. We've been linked with so many, and any of those would do a job for us, basically. So who we get, I don't know. Striker, I quite watched the video of Evan Gessen of Nice. This guy's quick. Okay. I like the look of him, but the thing is, you never know when you come into the Premier League what you're going to get. A safe bet would be Visser.
Yeah,
and you're on mute, unless you're on mute deliberately. Visser, he's got a 1 in 3 strike rate, I think. Yeah, I mean, we'll see on that. I mean,
what's a good price for Visser?
He's in 1 year left on his contract, but I think Brentford have got the option.
They've got an option, yeah.
So he's going to hold that 35-40 mil. If they think they're getting 50,
do we think? You think there's any chance of them letting him go now that Boomer's definitely? I think we had the here we go from Boomer to United today, didn't we? So don't Brentford run the risk?
I haven't heard that as yet, but we know that he would like to come, right? But this is one of why I think we're only delaying, because we've got other business to do first. I think we're more interested in bringing a DM in first. I mean, there's been lots of speculation over Walton that we've been in talks. Look, I'm sure we have been in talks. I'm sure we're not the only club that's been in talks. Mm-hmm. And Palace have sort of said 100 mil. It's not going to be 100 mil. He hasn't played that amount of games. It's about 36 games. Good player. If he was 60 mil at most, to me, he's not worth more. We've heard rumours anything from 65 to 75 with add-ons would get the deal done for his age.
Beast is saying Benjamin Sesko's still available, and then we've got Tom coming in. Zookeeper Tom, shots fired, pelter alert. He's saying Josh Sargent's the worst out I've heard in a long time.
Tom don't hold back. He'll pull me when
you haven't. When you're saying that, you haven't watched him play football, so that's all I'm going to say. But the interesting thing is, I think Benjamin Sesko has been linked to Man United, isn't he? Isn't that I actually heard today that deal is actually done. He's going to Man United.
You know what? I'm not going to say I'm not a little bit jealous of their 210s and their number 9, but they're still suspect at the back. They're going down.
We had that homegrown issue, Drew, which there is a banner for it. I mean, we only have 7 homegrown. So Morgan Gibbs-White would make 8. If we went for a Walton or a Hayden Hackney or a Dennis Sirking, because it looks like Walker Peters would be going to West Ham, not Besiktas. Mm-hmm. So we got that issue to address. So
because these boys down here.
Yeah. See, that's why if you want to get rid of, look, most Spurs fans are Marmite, and most players they're in or out. I mean, like some don't like Maddison, some don't like Johnson, who's a good finishing out. I didn't want him at the club, but I warmed to him, you know, and Ben Davies, of course, but they're not going anywhere because we need those 7, right? So they're not going anywhere. It's a question like Morgan Gibbs White would give you 8.
But what a joke though. Who does Kevin Danso play? That's Belgium, is it? Who does he play for internationally?
Austria or was it Switzerland?
Austria. You
Austria.
got 7 homegrown players, of which 2 are Welsh internationals and 1 is an Austrian international.
Yeah, but they're homegrown.
But I understand that. I just think the whole system's a nonsense. Can I get in on the needs and the visa situation?
The needs and the must. Yeah, let's assume. Ian, can we assume that midfield's somewhat dealt with? And well, yeah, take it where you want.
I don't think we need much in midfield. I think what I've heard, as I say, and I think I've got Tom's coming on the show on Sunday, and cool. As is Callum. And a lot's going to depend now on if we can move players on. Mm-hmm. If we can move Richarlison on, if Sonny wants to go, and I think the hints are that Sonny probably does want to go, but he needs to do the Asian tour. Then we will go for Xavi Simons, and that would be a serious, upgrade. I think Kirkin as a left back, I think is ideal, and I also think we need, if we sign 50 subs. Okay. I've got completely distracted now.
Sorry.
I think Visa fits the bill perfectly, totally perfectly. But I'm paying 25 million and 5 million add-ons for a 29-year-old with a year, all right, a year and an option. That you're going to have to give him a 4-year contract. That makes him pushing 33 at the end of his contract with virtually no resale value. We're not spending. That's not the kind of Spurs player we buy. There must be another forward out there. But I say, you put up your list, Dibbling. But again, I mean, there's talk they wanted 100 million. They want 100 million pound for a 30 million pound plus add-ons. He could be a great player. He could be a really great player, Dibbling. But he did okay in a poor side, and they want someone to drop 100 million on him. But the reason why he's still at Southampton is he's so vastly overpriced. I would take a risk on him, but where is he going to play? That right side of midfield, or so we've just signed Kudos, probably going to play there. Kulusevski can play there. Johnson can play there. Tell can play there. Odebear can play there. Jesus, I can bloody play there in an emergency. So where's he going to get a game? I don't think we're that far away, but we do need to move a couple out. But if we could get a left back, another left back, another forward, and assuming we're moving a couple out, a quality player like Xavi Simons to play left side midfield, 2-3 out, 3 in, I think we would be absolutely cooking.
It's strange, isn't it? The situation regarding Eze. I think we could do with a bit more power on the left, right? Just because of the other Mridi situation there. Strange why no one's in for Eze unless Arsenal really are in for him. And what's going on there? Especially as we use the same agency, the BA-based agency as well. I mean, that is weird. Having said that, if it was a toss-up between Eze and Xavi Simons, I'm leaning towards Simons because 1, he's 23, he's younger, and 2, I just think he's more consistent. He hasn't got maybe that game-changing, goal that players get out of nothing. But I like Simons. I think he's a cracking player.
It's a lot of stuff to work on for Frank. I mean, I don't envy his position at all. I mean, I quite like the salary, but I mean, there's just so many pieces to this puzzle, and I guess it's interesting to see where we go next. And you bring up a good You bring up a good point with Eze. Kevin coming in says Eze Premier League experience, which obviously Simons doesn't. What do you think it is with Eze? Because, like you say, obviously people were afraid of the 68 million, and then all of a sudden it was 20 million paid in three parts, like a little Klarna special. So, is it just that he's got his heart set on a place and they're just doing stuff in the background, or like should we read into anything? Is there a reason maybe not more clubs are going in for him, or are we just? I mean, is that just journalists?
Well, what is strange about it as well is if we want to keep the player, it's 60 million, 8 million add-ons, right? And then you want to keep the player, and then you change your attitude and say you can have him for 320 million payments. Well, that doesn't tell me. That doesn't tell me you want to keep the player. That tells me you want to sell him. So, I mean, I just find that confusing. What do you think about that, Ian?
I'm wondering if there's a story here that we don't know about.
Yeah.
You would think a player of the quality of Eze, even at 68 million quid, clubs would be saying, we will take that. Thank you very much.
100%.
This is the second season now since last summer that no one has come in. So is there a story? People. Hang on. I'll be careful.
Sorry, hang on. Big up, Tom. Anyone not looking at the screen? Zookeeper Tom coming in with an absolute zinger. Yeah. My biggest worry with meeting Eze release clause is that Marinakis might sue us. Comment of the night.
He's been sitting in the background lobbing banter grenades into the mix, right?
Yeah.
Good banter.
Well, right, like he is, he's had that one loaded for a minute. But the interesting thing is, from what I was told, that Eze's camp was waiting on Arsenal, right? Because Arsenal has essentially been laying the groundwork to get Victor Yorkovic from Sporting CP, and that was their main focus on making sure that deal gets done. And so Eze unfortunately had to wait until that came around. And I think Eze's camp told, I think from what I heard was Eze's camp was told Tottenham that right now the priority is to wait to see how that fleshes out. Because I think Arsenal was at the top of his list. But that being said, we're still a couple weeks on from that point. And that being said, I wonder if the lines of communications are still open to his camp, because I don't think that he necessarily said no to Tottenham. He just said he wanted to wait to figure out exactly how that will flesh out with Arsenal.
Interesting.
Which means he don't want to come to Spurs, basically. Yeah. So we don't.
Well, we're the side chick in this whole dilemma here, right? So we're the secondary chick to the hot chick that he's looking to get with. And if it doesn't work out, then he'll kind of double back around and see what we're doing.
Yeah. Blaine Super Spurs TV says this season one player I want to be convinced about is Tell. I've seen enough of Odegaard to think he's improving, but I was unimpressed overall by Tell. He needs a make or break in 25-26. And that's a fair point. One thing I will say, and I think the only reason I just think we need to give Tell a little bit more time just based on the condition he came to us in from Bayern and the lack of football that he'd had. And I think if you kind of look at the trajectory or you look at Berryvale, the first 6 months weren't great. And to be honest with you, even the second half of the season, he did some really, really good things. But he was also responsible for a couple of absolute howlers, which I'm not going to hold against him because he's only 18. But I think there's something there, Blaine. Blaine, just hear me out, brother. There is something there with Tell. And I tell you what, I'll eat humble pie at the end of the season for you. You can even post me one. But I really, really think he's going to come good for us, mate. So we're just going to keep the Tell vibes alive. Joe Bloggs comes in. He says maybe he needs to beef up, and maybe I tell you what, a couple of pounds wouldn't hurt if it stopped. So long as it didn't stop the rapidness. I just think there's something in there. There's something in there.
Well, there wasn't enough sample size with Tell, right? He was brought in a situation that at the time we were still dealing with an injury issue, and he was asked to do something that he just didn't have in his locker to begin with, which is lead an attack. and be responsible for carrying the goal scoring, contribution. And he just doesn't necessarily have it in his locker. He's a striker who's playing out on the wing, and it is what it is, right? So me personally, I look at the prospect. I think he's a great prospect, and I see his ceiling. But again, you're absolutely right. He's 18, 19 years old, right? So he's not even in that. He hasn't even had enough time in the Premier League to necessarily get adjusted yet, right? So that's going to take a full season worth of games. I would probably tend to agree with you, Drew, that by the end of this season, you'll start to see exactly what the hype as far as his prospect is concerned. But I actually like the player, to be honest with you.
What is interesting about Tel? Well, two things. We did a good deal because we knocked 15 mil off the price. What's he scored? 3 goals in those games. Good goal against Villa away in the cup. And I love his aggression. I love his attitude on the pitch. And like you, Steve, and others, I'd like to see more from him.
Mm-hmm.
So we signed him. So then when we get these puzzling signings, they must be showing something on the training field for us to sign them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Why?
You would hope that you would hope that Frank's been consulted as well, because obviously that Tel deal was done before Frank came in, but obviously Frank was in the works. So
he's one of those where we don't know. He is not oven ready. I mean, I believe Gray is, but he isn't. He's not oven ready. Neither's Odebert. Another one who we got in. I mean, he was at Burnley with company. He came out the PSG Academy, didn't he? At the time, he had the same stats as Nico Williams. I mean, we'd all like Nico Williams. So these players have got something about them, but only time will tell, pardon the pun.
Oh, very good. Very good. Ian, I know you've got to head out shortly. Is there any kind of points you want to make before you head off?
No, I think not. I think it is a make or break for Tel, but he's another one. He's very young. I think he's got something, and I also think with his pace and his power, he'll be a player that get the ball in behind. He'll do a lot of damage. He's one of those players that I expect to improve exponentially under Frank.
What position is Frank going to use him at? That's what I'm curious about, right? Because if he's playing three across the front, is he going to be out left, or is this going to be a situation where they're going to be using him potentially as an inside forward, as a secondary striker in a 3-5-2?
Frank mostly plays like a 4-3-3, whether it's a 4-2-3-1. They're similar, aren't they? Because you don't see them patterns on the pitch once the kickoff happens. Right, but you get the idea. Players have been designated positions and zones to, they've got their zones that are given to them. I mean, I see Telmore as an inside left winger come inside left. He's brave enough to take players on. I see him on the left or an inside left. I don't think he's got the physicality of players a 9. He may end up as a 9. Who knows? I mean, Thierry Henry did. You know what I mean? So. I don't know. We don't know, do we? We just don't know at the moment.
Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you, Adrian, Stephen, Drew, everybody in the chat. Fabulous. See you Sunday night, 10 p.m. British Summer Time. Tom, Adrian, myself, and Callum. And maybe, Callum with lots of up-to-date transfer news. Hopefully bang up to date. That should be a good show, and maybe see if I can get one more as well. I'll have to think about who I've got in mind. Have a great weekend, everybody. Let's maybe see what happens tomorrow. A result doesn't really matter. I hope we get a big win and we see some good promising performances. Take care, everybody.
See you, Ian. Take care. All right. Well, we're going for an hour and 15 minutes, so we will keep on keeping on. Let's bring up another couple of banners because we've got some information here. Obviously, I think, somewhat sad news. Keeley left today or is leaving, going to Luton potentially. Sell-on clause, unsure if there's a buyback. I would maybe hope so, or at least first refusal. But I think obviously Kinski got bought in. Kinski's got Champions League experience. It's most likely Kinski's going to be the number 2, but then I think Brandon Austin has to be the number 2 for Champions League. Maybe, unless Kinski's under 21. I don't know. I don't quite know what the situation is with the keepers. I really wanted Keeley to stick around, but Adrian, what's your thoughts? It's obviously a good move for the kid, but a little bit sad to see him go.
We've got Gunter and we've got Maguire, who's in the under 21s. When Gunter went out on loan, I like the look of Gunter. To be honest, watching all the under 21 games, I haven't seen a lot of Keeley. I've got to be honest. I haven't seen a lot of him. Did well at Orient. I think he had 16 clean sheets, though. So looks a prospect. If he goes there at that league level, what we're going to get? Max, 5 mil or less for him? And that's why we'll have the sell-on clause in the bar, because that's more important than the fee, I think. Right. We're going to lose a lot of players out of the academy.
Mm-hmm.
And fans are going to go, oh, we've lost him. But like, they're not going to break through to become part of the first team squad. The academy will pay for itself. We've seen what's happened to Chelsea's academy, Man City's academy, even Man United's academy, right? How many players make it? It's about 3% actually make it. The last time I looked, which was a couple of seasons ago, so I stand to be corrected. But about 3% of players from academies make it through to become just a regular member of their first team 25-man squad, let alone go on to being superstars. We had Matty Wake, we had Marcus Edwards went, we had Parrott's gone. We've seen Dylan Marcandy went, he didn't even have a loan, because he thought he wanted to play now. Tyra Saws had rows with Rat Ange because he thought he was good enough to get in the first team. A lot of these players, they're going to have great careers. They'll all end up millionaires wherever they end up, right? But they're not going to be making it into the Spurs first team squad. It's just the way it is. And we'll keep having that turnover until you put so many through the mincer that 1 or 2 come through. And the only likely candidates at the moment are Mikey Moore, I think's a certainty. Donnelly's a possibility. Vuskovic, I think, is almost a certainty from what I've seen him play. And that's about it. That's only my opinion, though, right? For what it's worth, right? But the others, what are they going to be doing in a year or two's time? But with Keeley, I wish him well. He did well last season, had a good season. I wish him well. He didn't want to sign a new contract. And I get it. First of all, you get the excitement of the player when a top club comes in, I want to go for them. And then you realise, but sometimes it's not a good thing to go to a top club as a young player. Yeah. It'd be better to go for a less fashionable club.
All right, just go play your trade. Make sure you get into a first team somewhere and carry on.
Exactly that.
Well, I mean, Steve, I mean, this is kind of what, and again, we sort of touched on this in the past, but we have a tendency to sort of romanticize and get a little bit caught up in the he's one of our own sort of thing when, this business model says, I mean, you can't, in this day and age, you can't not have players coming out of the academy that if they're not going to make it in your team, you need to at the very, very least, you need to make your money back on the year or 2 years that you've been training them, right? So to get 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 million through the door for somebody that, for all intents and purposes, you've kind of, I don't want to say paid peanuts because, that's being a bit flippant, but if you've put a couple of 100,000, 500,000, $1 million into this kid and you're getting 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 million return, I mean, that's kind of your bread and butter. That's what you need to do to keep up with the Joneses, right?
Right. But that's exactly what your academy is for. It's the ability to make profit in where otherwise you wouldn't for player sales. And the interesting thing about this is, like, when you look at what the business that some of these top clubs do, that's exactly what they do. They use their academy as a means, either A, sell them as soon as they graduate from their academy, or B, put them out on loan, put them in their loan army for a couple seasons, and then eventually sell when the market's high. And that's exactly what this was with Josh Keeley. When you look at what he did last year, with his loan in League One. He had absolutely had a brilliant season. And so Tottenham, all they did was sell when the market was high on him. And I think he actually ended up in a good landing spot for Josh Keeley himself. And I heard this last year after Kinski came through the door, he was absolutely pissed because his eye was to make the Tottenham first team this upcoming season. That's, it was what he was initially told. But if you go out on loan and you have a good season, you're going to be in a position to get a spot in his first team. And they go out and get they go out and get Tony Kinski. And I can understand why Tottenham likes him because he came from a system with Sparta Praha that had that had Champions League play. So he's got that on his CV. When you look at exactly what they're looking for this upcoming season with the Champions League, they want as many players as they possibly can that have that experience of playing in that type of environment, something that Josh Keeley doesn't have. And so it's unfortunate because I like Keeley. I think he's a good prospect, but unfortunately I actually was saying this a couple of weeks ago that there's going to be casualties when it comes to some of these players that went on loan last season. And Josh Keeley was one of the names that I mentioned that I was not surprised to see that he ended up being moved on, because at the end of the day, you have to player sales have to be a part of the equation. And if you're not directly involved in the first team and you're hanging on the peripheral of the first team, your number is probably going to be called and you're going to be probably sold. I also mentioned Jamie Donnelly as a potential casualty, but because of injury at that position, he's probably going to stick around and get an opportunity in the preseason. Whereas you have, as of right now, 3 goalies that are already in camp, and I think you mentioned a couple as well too, Ian. So I don't think we're necessarily missing much with the loss of Josh Keeley. I certainly wish him well with Luton. I think he's actually landed in a very good spot, I think we all agree that in a couple of years he'll be back in the Premier League.
I think he's done the right thing. He was offered a new deal and he turned it down. He knows we're not short of goalkeepers. We're not short of goalkeepers. And I know we got Vicario and we got Kinski and we got Austin. Then you're looking at Gunter and Maguire from the under-21s now. And what we have done is we've brought in a fantastic goalkeeping coach in Fabianotti, right? Who was with Liverpool. He's done his time in Germany. Actually, if Tom was on, he would know more than I do about him. But I've just glanced at some of the, praise he's been given for his coaching. And so he will have to sort the goalkeepers out, not so much the goalkeepers, because if you're a goalkeeping coach, you've got to work the back four as well, because goalkeepers have to work their back four. So it's a combination of things. It's not just ironing out, come for crosses, don't get bullied in the penalty area. The penalty area is your domain. You're entitled to kill anything in it, basically, as a goalkeeper. No, you are. And you should come out and be aggressive and you've got to be very aggressive from set pieces and things like that as a goalkeeper, If it means coming out and occasionally punching someone in the head, at least other teams will know you're not soft. You might get sent off, but at least in the future they know, well, we ain't messing with him. Right. So I'm not worried about our goalkeepers. People say change him and all that, but who out there is better? And not only that, who out there is available?
Correct.
So this is all my issue with all players. Okay, we can get someone better, and who can we get that's better than we've got? Right? Now, in the past, I would have said, well, no one, but now we've got money. My mentality's changed, right?
Right.
Or we appear to have money. We don't know how much. We know how much once we've finished this transfer window, but we don't know how much. No, good luck to him. Good Irish lad in the Ireland team now. Turned down the new deal. You've got Casanova, defender. Phillips.
Well, I was just going to go through this list because this was kind of the keep loan, and obviously in the time that we've written this compared to now, obviously Keeley, we had it as a new deal, but obviously he's gone. But we've got the likes of Gunter, Casanova, Phillips, Dorrington, Vuskovic, Abbott, Matthews, Hall, Olosesi, Devine, Ajay, who's already gone out to Doncaster on loan, Donnelly, Scarlett, Lancashire, Moore, Min Hyuk, and Takai. Now, obviously, a couple of these lads have been linked with loans to West Brom because of Ryan Mason. So, I mean, can you see maybe a pathway? I was thinking, the likes of you sort of Abbott's, Matthews, Hall, Olasesi, Donley, possibly Lancashire, Min Hyuk. I could see all of those, any one of those guys maybe taking a trip up there. And I was wanting to get your thoughts on Divine, because he's a name that has been around the place for a good 2, 3, maybe even longer than that years. But he's never really managed to get through. And I'm just wondering, I mean, is he just one? He sort of came to the club with so much promise. I mean, and you would know more about him than me, Adrian. I mean, is there anything in his future?
He did well there. I mean, and you'll all remember the FA Cup game against Marine in the FA Cup when he scored. He was 15.
Yeah.
He scored as a 15-year-old. I'm sure he was 15. Stand corrected if he was 16. And then he went to, was it Portsmouth and Plymouth confused? He went
Plymouth
to
Argyle, I think, wasn't it? Plymouth Argyle.
With Ashley Phillips. Yeah. Because, and the reason I went there is because he went there because the England coach that he'd been with the young England side was now at Plymouth or Portsmouth, right? So, and then they changed their manager, and he lost time in his development because of that. Phillips still played, he didn't. So now he's behind in his development, and he's gone to Westerlo with Luka Vuskovic, right? Who stepped up in every league he's been in, from Hajduk Split to Poland to the Belgian league. So I like Divine, but again, you see, I just don't see. Stuart Lewis has been promoted from the under-18s now as the academy coach for pathways from the academy to the first team squad. So Frank won't have time to look at. You got a game every 3 days. A manager's got no time to look at players in the academy. He has to be guided by the coaches at the lower levels that inform him that, right, this player's good, bad, or indifferent. I like Divine. I think he's quality, and he's going to have an excellent football career. But I just think it's the pathway for it to open up. You've really got to be exceptional. Mikey Moore is exceptional. What I've seen of Luka Vuskovic, although he's not been with our academy, I think he's exceptional. He's the best defender I've seen at his age ever, right? Doesn't mean to say he's going to make it. Football's made fool of me more than enough times, right? Yeah. Donnelly, I like him. He's got to come to the club as a striker from Northern Ireland, right? Wayne Burnett converted him to a number 10. He's got that vision for that killer forward pass. I mean, I like the player. If there was 3 that I want to be given a chance, it's those 3. More we know is going to be given a chance. He's not going to be loaned out. He's 18 in August. He's going to sign his 5-year contract, right?
No.
So I think Donnelly and Vuskovic have got a chance, maybe. But then Vuskovic, he's foreign quota, isn't he? So he may be sent out on loan again just because he's foreign quota, and we've got an issue with that.
But isn't he? He doesn't count though, does he? Because he's under 21.
No, but for the what I don't. But he can't go on the B list because he hasn't been with our under 21s.
Oh no, he would have to take up a spot up in the Champions League, but he doesn't have to be registered for Premier League. But if you sent him out on loan, then you wouldn't begin the homegrown club train process. So it stands to reason
it wouldn't count if he was on loan because Saar was on loan with Metz, and we all thought that would get him around the wall, and they got relegated or whatever, and he was there for a couple and it didn't count.
Right.
So with Vuskovic, I mean, we've got as it stands now with only 1 academy trained player who's done 3 years, which is Austin, because we let Whiteman go.
Right.
We can only list 14 players for the Champions League that are foreign. 14 as the quota instead of 17.
Okay.
So the issue is in this transfer market, because it gets complex here. Mm-hmm. When we're linked with foreign players, I'm half humming and ahhing because I'm thinking, well, a foreign player comes in like Kudus. Part of him coming, he's want to be guaranteed that he's going in a Champions League squad. Because I would, you would, we all would, right? We would all want that. But so this is when we're linked with foreign players at this moment in time. I'm thinking, woo, hold on to the reins a bit here. So when we are linked with even if it's tenuous link to Wharton, Hayden Hackney maybe not, Sirkin maybe not, right? Or anyone else here's like, but because Sirkin would qualify as homegrown academy trained for 3 years. Wharton wouldn't because he's not been with us. But it would count.
There's only a handful of players that actually class as the homegrown club trained, right? And you're looking at the likes of Harry Kane, Skip, Winks. You're not getting those players back.
It's not a big issue in numbers because as long as you've got academy players that have done 2 years, right? You can add them to the squad. And with just for those that are viewing us, with the academy players that make the B list, you don't have to actually put that B list up until 24 hours before a game, a European game. So it's not a question of numbers. We could put 15, 20 players from the academy forward. So we're not short of numbers. The issue for us is who do you leave out? I mean, because you take from January, right? We left out Werner, we left out Kinski Frostin, and we left out Dragerson because he was injured.
Yeah.
And we brought in Spence, Danso, and Tell. So that shows now if Dragerson's fit, who do you leave out? If you bring a foreign player in, who do you leave out? This is the issue Frank's got. Who's going to be left out of, the Champions League squad because we've got too many foreign players. If we can only list 14 instead of 17 as our quota. So that's an issue. But look, we'll deal with it. We'll get on with what we've got to get on with. You know what I mean? We'll and whoever's left out will be left out. That's why I think Basuma should go, Richarlison should go, Gill should go, as well.
Solomon is probably likely to go, isn't he?
Solomon's
going to go.
Unless they're prepared to be with a club and not be included in the squad. Because if you want to encourage Richie and Basuma to go, you don't have to be nasty about it. Say, look, well, you're not really in my plans. You're not going to get much game time. And if you stay, and I know you've got a World Cup coming up, guys, but I'm not including you in the European Champions League squad. That should encourage them to leave, right? Unless they're happy to stay,
Yeah. Interesting stuff. I'm just going to, as I was Spud in the chat, it says Salah didn't become a homegrown player because he didn't have a work permit. He'd had to be eligible to play for us. Pretty sure Spurs messed it up. Well, we are the team that, tried to... We tried to loan Matt Doherty and had to rip up the contract and thought Ben Davies classed as English when he didn't and thought Eric Dyer was homegrown when he wasn't. So it's it would be very, very Spursy for that to be a thing. Steve, we'll give you a quick plug on the old channel. You've been doing some bits recently. Have you got some stuff coming up soon?
I do. I know
you do.
So,
I know you do.
Yeah. This morning I dropped the U.S. Men's National Team World Cup 2026 roster prediction, volume 1.0, as we go over post-Gold Cup possibilities for Mauricio Pochettino. And, of course, at the end of every international window, that will be updated as we get closer to World Cup 2026. Tomorrow at 6 a.m., usually we go at 7, but tomorrow it's going to be at 6. It's the American Hotspur on Stateside Footy. As we talk a little bit more about the MG Morgan Gibbs White saga, as we get into that position, specifically to the number 10 position and how that's going to work out, as both James Madison and Dejan Kulusevski start to get back into the first team training. So that's going tomorrow at 6 a.m. And of course, tomorrow night, the MLS live stream returns. As now that we are past Gold Cup 2025 and of course the Club World Cup, so Major League Soccer is now back in the spotlight. So tomorrow night it's going to be Seattle versus San Jose. That's at 8:30 Eastern. So yeah, man, a lot of good stuff on Stateside Footy. Make sure you head over there and hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, we've got the link on the screen here for you. Be sure to go and check out Steve. He does do a lot of great content. Picking up on that number 10, obviously you mentioned, I don't know, we sort of mentioned it earlier that Madison and Kulusevski sort of both not ready. Morgan Gibbs-White's still up in the air. So at the moment, the only real fit number 10 is Donnelly, right? Or are we thinking that maybe Kudus might get a run out in the number 10 tomorrow? Because he has mentioned wanting to sort of play in that central role. Do you think it'll be a case of, because I when he came in, I sort of imagined him just being an out-and-out winger, but I've never really seen him play number 10, but I don't watch much of Wet Spam. So, I mean, Steve, you got any, what's your feelings on Kudus at 10?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because it's a numbers game at this point, right? When you think about the fact that James Madison's not ready, Kulusevski's still a couple of months off, and then also Lucas Bergvall still out as well. Really, the only two central attackers that I think right now are going to be relevant to this conversation are Jamie Donnelly and Alfie Devine in those roles, right? So that being said, there's going to have to be.
I didn't even think about Devine. Yeah.
Right, and so that's why I don't think he's necessarily going to go out on loan right away until at least one of those two of James Madison and Lucas Bergvall come back into the come back into the squad, or if Morgan Gibbs-White shows up within the span of the next 3-4 days. You probably would assume that both of those guys are probably going to get the run out. Do I think that Mohamed Kudus or maybe a Matisse Tell might get run at 10? I don't think so, just considering that, I'm not necessarily really sold on them as being a primary distributor. Even in a short term, because you're playing preseason games, I don't necessarily think it makes all that much sense in the world, considering that, you paid X amount of dollars to bring in Mohamed Kudus to do a job. And so you kind of wanted him to be in that position doing the job that you paid him to do. So I can't imagine, even on a short term, I just don't see that.
Fair enough. Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Frank will experiment with Odebert at 10 like he's done before.
Big up, Dan.
Or even a Son. Don't think he'll do that. I would like to see Donnelly given a chance. Look, it's a pre-season friendly. We're looking for good cameo performances and to get an idea of what system Frank is going to start with us. And I think it'll be like a 4-2-3-1 personally, or 4-3-3. It's the same thing, really. Right. So, yeah, I think he'll go with that. And he tends to play a narrow midfield pivot. And unlike Ange, who will leave his wingers parked out on the bylines, he won't do that. They may be out there at times, but he tends to play a narrow three. And as Steve alluded to earlier, you're not leaving your number 9 as an island in the middle of nowhere, right? He's got players that are on the closed space, which is the two angles on the corner of the penalty area, your wingers, that you can either play 1-2s off, use your number 9 as a fulcrum, play 1-2s off to score goals, things like that, or actually set something up for your main striker. So we'll see. I mean, we won't know. Get a great insight into his mind until we're actually playing a proper game and we see who his starting 11 is, which will give you a clue, and we see who the 9 on the bench is, which will give you another clue to who he fancies, which is what I look at. Barring no injuries, of course, because then you get a clearer clue, right?
Yeah.
Funny saying that, clearer clue. Really.
Clearer clue, right? Daniel 90 coming into the chat. Big up, Daniel. He says, smash the like button for the most chilled out Spurs channel on YouTube. Much appreciated. I always forget to say smash the like and subscribe because I don't know. We get sort of involved in the conversation. But yeah, do smash the like, do subscribe. We are trying our best to be a growing channel. We try and be, formal, level-headed, come with relevant information, some banter, some silliness. Big up Drula in the chat. So yeah, we just we really appreciate all the support. Appreciate Blaine coming in earlier with some members and also Peter as well. And Adrian does a great job over on Facebook with the Diehrds Facebook page. So be sure to go over there and check it out because, as I say, he does some really great work. What would we like to see, Adrian? Let's get through tomorrow. Hopefully, everyone gets through unscathed. We get a good chance to look at the team. What are your hopes and aspirations for next week? Are you of the mind that Gibbs White has got to come through the door early as possible? Are you quite relaxed about the whole thing, just knowing that actually this time round Spurs are quietly going about their business? Because there just seems to be a bit more of a, I don't know, it seems to be a little bit more relaxed, even though there's been a hiccup with Morgan Gibbs White. I think of years gone by, we wouldn't have even bought in Kudus by now, so everyone sort of would have been losing their minds. And I just, from the channels that I've been on, from the chat rooms, everything just seems, even though there's been the hiccup, things seem a little bit more relaxed. And there's sort of a sense that Spurs are going on and, going about their business behind the scenes quite well. So you quite relaxed about the next week and the next couple of weeks?
Yeah. And we don't know what other irons we have in the fire. Morgan Gibbs White would be a Spurs player, which then makes us the best transfer window we've had in ages. We've brought in two quality Oven Reading players that upgrade our squad in Kudus, and they give us other options, and we need that. We need that if we're going to fight on four fronts. And I think the club, I don't know, more through Peter Charrington coming on the board, who represents Enoch, and Vivian Lewis. I don't know, it's more through that. I think it is as well. But sort of said to Levy, look, we're in the Champions League now, right? We don't want to disgrace ourselves. If you want us to try and even aspire to get top 5 next season, this squad needs serious upgrades. There's a lot of quality there, but it needs upgrades. And two signings like that can transform us, but I don't think we're stopping there, actually. I'm like a lot of fans thinking, hang about, there is this serious investment coming in. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone for these two. And I don't believe we'd have gone for these two just based on what money we've earned on the Europa League, winning that. We're all European champions here. Yeah, and what potential money we'll earn in the Champions League playing those games, which is a small fortune as well. No. It's not going to cover the cost of the business we're doing. So something's in the offing, right? And I'm hoping that I'd love to get a Wharton in. I'd even take a Hayden Hackney, actually. But I think we can do better than Hackney.
Callum comes in and says, once Morgan Gibbs White is sorted, Wharton and Simmons will be looked at further. And it's just, I guess, from a Spurs fan, I guess I'm so scarred. It's just hard. It's so hard to get your head around being legitimately linked to sort of these players and people not thinking, come on, Callum, have a word. You're pulling my leg, mate. And I know actually he's not. He's probably sitting there rubbing his hands together saying, just you wait, Drew, just you wait. I'm having a hard time getting my head around it. It's an awesome feeling. I would love to get another couple of real killer players,
Dude, just imagine an attacking three of Simon, Solanke, and Kudus, and your midfield three is Madison, Morgan Gibbs White, and Adam Wharton.
Yeah,
those six players. It boggles my mind just considering the risk averse nature that Spurs have essentially been in the Enoch area, and then all of a sudden in one summer, 15 years of absolute hot garbage of a summer transfer and it gets erased with 300 million in net spend. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I would take Simons, but we wouldn't still have solved the DM situation. But if we go for an Arden Jirashi, we've been linked with the Swedish player. I don't know if you'd heard of him today at all. Looked at him, looks good in the job. If we got a Simons in and managed to get, say, a DM in that wasn't as expensive as we might consider. I mean, what would you pay for Paulinho anyway at 30? Douglas Luiz would like to come. Rios, what would he cost? And there's another thing, you can fall into a trap. We haven't heard of Rios before. And how many times has there been competitions when clubs have gone out and bought a player because he's done well in a competition and afterwards flopped? over a league season. So there is that sort of danger there as well. Yeah, I'd love Simons. I don't know how well stacked Bayern are, but usually the best players go to Bayern in Germany, don't they? He's with Leipzig, isn't he, Simons? He's with Leipzig. So, yeah. Yeah, I would take him 23, but he's up and ready at 23. I think he'd do well in the Premier League.
He is with Leipzig, yeah. And also, what with Bayern losing, his name has escaped me. Who's the kid that broke his ankle in the chat? Help me out. Oh, my. English kid broke his ankle, plays for Germany. Anyone, it'll come to me. But yeah, he had a serious injury, so now they're looking at creative number 10. So I was thinking that maybe Simons would end up heading out that way. But yeah, I'm not sure. Musiala, thank you, Paul G. Musiala, that's the guy, that's the fella. And Big B coming in as well, yeah, Musiala. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We need this DM, but we've been linked with lots of them. They're all good.
By the way, didn't Musiala just break his leg in the?
Yeah, that's who we were talking. Yeah, that's who we were talking about. That's why we were thinking Simons might end up at Bayern because Bayern need to replace him. Because there was also rumours that Eze, although Bayern had maybe looked at Eze as a replacement as well, but I don't think Eze wants to go to Germany. We shall see. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we're sort of coming up on almost 2 hours. Is there anything else? Obviously, I don't want to sit here chatting for the sake of chatting. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up before we call it a night?
Predicted lineup for tomorrow for a bit of fun.
Oh, go on. All right.
I think
what are we doing then?
Steve, come on.
You go first. You go first.
I'm going in goal. Well, I don't know. I mean, like,
I don't know.
I think it'd be Brandon Austin.
I tell you what. Let me. I've got a slide here.
This is interesting because Fabio.
All right. I'll go.
Well, let's go positions. Let's do like goalkeeper.
All right. So
back four, midfield, and then we'll spread it around because it'll be fun, just fun. All right. And join in the chat as well. Join in. Give us your team for tomorrow. And bear in mind, you've got kids you can throw in there as well.
My starting keeper is Tony Kinski.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go Kinski as well. I think he's going to start Kinski.
Well, you're both wrong. I'm going with the car area.
All right, fair enough.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. Whoa, he's gonna go Porro right back for the first half. He's gonna go Porro. All right. Yeah, maybe. Right back, I'm going to. I will say Pedro Porro starts the first half, and then Archie Gray moves to right back in the second half.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Interesting. Who's the starting centre? Oh, go on. Sorry, Adrian. I cut.
I'm going because he's raved about Porro being,
Trent-like.
Yeah, Trent-like, exactly. I'm starting Porro right back.
Right. All right. Who's your centre-back pairing for the first half?
For the first half, it's going to be Romero Van de Ven to start, and then the second half, it's going to be Danso and the young Vuskovic.
Okay. Interesting.
I think VDV sits this one out for obvious reasons. We always wrap him in cotton wool. So
nah. This is Thomas Frank. This isn't Thomas Frank and not Ange Postecoglou. Yeah, it's Thomas Frank, not Ange Postecoglou trying to save his job.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna think because he's talked about it. I think Ashley Phillips is going to get a start.
Okay.
And I think Ashley Phillips will play with. I think because Vuskovic was played on the left in Belgium, I'm going to go with Vuskovic. I think they're going to start.
Okay.
Really? I think Romero and Vuskovic are going to start first half, and Danzo and Van de Ven are going to start second half.
Yeah. See, shows how much you two know about football.
Yeah. Again, this is Thomas Frank, not Postecoglou trying to save his job. So
Right.
yeah.
You just don't know. I mean, he might surprise us. He might go with a 3. You might end up with Horo.
Yeah.
You might end up with Danzo, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogi.
So who's left back, guys? Who's left back?
Left
Udogi.
back.
Udogi.
I'm gonna go Jed Spence on the left. Excuse me, Udogi to start in the first half, Spence in the second half.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I think
yeah. Go on.
Bentancur and Sarr double pivot.
Hold on, you haven't given left back yet.
I gave me left back. I said it was going to be Udogi.
Okay.
I'm going to Udogi as well, because unless VDV plays there, I mean, like, which is not happening, and not in a friendly. Yeah, I'm going Udogi. Go on then, midfield pivot.
I'm doing, I think it's going to be the Bentancur Archie Gray double pivot, actually. I thought maybe Sarr, but Bentancur Archie Gray double pivot.
I'm gonna go. Okay, so if we're talking double pivots here, I'm gonna do Betancourt and Basuma to start, and then one of those.
That's just what I think he's going to do. If you think it will be a single 6, you have at it, dude.
Yeah, well, so I do think it's going to be a single 6, and I think that it's going to be Betancourt and then Basuma.
Oh, so Betancourt first half, Basuma second. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My double pivot is different. I'm going Betancourt and Bergvall as my.
I don't think Bergvall is going to be available tomorrow.
Bergvall's fit. He's fit and playing.
Okay.
Nothing
I heard different, but okay. I
know, like most of these players, they're going to get half, right? They're going to get half. So, like, it's not as though they're going to overstretch themselves. So, I'm going Betancourt and Bergvall. I think it's a good blend.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
So, the 3 behind the strikers, Guy, who are you going for?
The 3 behind this. Let's see.
So you playing 4-2-3-1, are you?
Well, if you got a midfield pivot, what are you doing?
Well, I was doing 4-2-3-1, but Steve's got a single 6.
Yeah,
so what's your?
Yeah,
he might be playing 4-3-3
Yeah, I got a single 6 with 2 high 10s, and I think it's going to be. I think that's going to start with Jamie. There's going to be a rotation of Jamie Donnelly, Alfie Devine, and Papsar. So there's going to be that rotation between the first and second half. And I would probably assume in the second half, maybe they go box to box in the second half. But yeah, I have a feeling that Jamie Donnelly's going to get a lot of run tomorrow.
All right.
I think my midfield 3 going Donnelly in the middle, Kudus, as it's called, Kudus on the right, and on the left, I think we're going Tell.
My attacking 3 on the left-hand side, I'm going to say it's going to be Mikey Moore to start, and Wilson Odebear to come on in the second half. On the right-hand side, I'm starting Kudus with Brendan Johnson coming on in the second half, and then I'm going to have Solanke up top to start with Matisse Tell coming into the second half.
Do you know what? I would kind of go with that. I think, to be honest with you, I can't see too
Americans
much more.
Together. I'm used to this. You know what I mean?
Hey, come on now.
I think, and what's interesting is I think that as we progress to Luton, we're going to start seeing the likes of Yangmin Hook and some of those other guys. I hate to put him in the class of those other guys, but it is what it is, right? We're going to see some youth before we go out to Asia.
I think we'll see Solanke replaced by Richarlison. Because Frank has praised Richarlison in the past, but we don't know if that praise is just because managers never slate players.
That's exactly right.
Right. So Do I think Lancashire or Scarlet will get a chance? I mean, they could possibly get. I mean,
they always. You know what's interesting
depends
is
on how many subs they've agreed to during the game, which will be like 1 million. So,
well, they always have those behind closed doors scrimmage matches. You know what I mean? Like during training in the week, they'll have like some team come in and they'll play a match behind closed doors.
So
what's up? And you misspelled his name, but that's all right. But, I would probably assume that. And by the way, he went to Wolfsburg, so it is what it is.
There you go.
But so scratch that name off the list.
He's gonna blow up the Bundesliga, though, isn't he? And you're gonna say, "I told you so."
We paid 12 million for Vaskovic, a 16-year-old Ajax split, mate. 12 mil.
I would assume, because they do that every summer, where like in midweek in training, they always have a team coming in, and they'll have like they'll have scrimmages, they'll have 2 half scrimmages, and that's where the likes of Scarlet, Lancashire, and some of these other players will get their run in during behind closed doors matches.
And we don't know if Solomon or Yang Min Hook or others will get a look in. I mean, it's going to be a fascinating pre-season.
It really is. Yeah, I was thinking that earlier. It's just going to be so different from what we're used to. I think with Ange, he was doing I think to be fair to the guy, he was doing the best he could with the players that he had. And I just don't think the players were ultimately ever going to be quite good enough for his system. I think they needed to be more ready-made, cardboard cutouts. And, I think we've moved to, obviously, now the longer it's sort of gone on, especially this show, that cathartic moment earlier. I think, if I take a step back and really look, you've got a coach that's now going to get as much juice as possible from the squeeze, right, Steve?
Can I ask you guys a quick question, though?
Yeah.
Noting the money that has already been spent this summer and the money that is going to be spent between now and the rest of the window, do you think Ange Postecoglou was sitting back just absolutely pissed off?
Dude, I was gonna ask you the same thing. I was like,
because Thomas Frank gets a run out and they're about to spend 300. They're about to spend 300 net spend, and Ange Postecoglou was essentially saddled with nothing over the course of like three windows.
Where was mine, mate? Where was mine?
That's exactly right.
Because
that's exactly right.
The board, he didn't do enough to earn the trust to be trusted with a large transfer fund.
And I guess to be fair, he did spend a decent chunk of change, right? Let's be fair.
Oh, come on. But look, this is what gets me, actually. It's not that managers are never given an open checkbook. Fans should get this into their head. There's always a recruitment team. You're not going to let a manager bankrupt your club. Right, it's not happening. It doesn't happen at any football club, right? Manager might get 1 if he's new into the club, or 2 players that he might like if they're attainable, but that's it. That's it. They do not have the sole say on recruitment. It doesn't work that way.
Fair play. Well, on that note, Mr. Freaking Level-Headed, I think we will call it. I very much appreciate everybody in the chat participating. I especially want to thank Blaine and Peter earlier for their kind donations to the channel and the gifted memberships. Thank you to everybody in the chat that kept the chat going, giving us some questions or just some food for thought, or just obviously keeping the conversation going amongst yourselves. Obviously, everybody in the chat, you know who you are. Too many to mention, but we do appreciate you always coming in and giving us that support. Want to say a big thank you once again to our friend Steve from Stateside Footy. Again, get over there and get over there, give him a subscribe, check out his channel. He does some wonderful stuff, some wonderful content, and he also does some wonderful content over at Tottenham Till We Die.
That is correct.
And to add,
signs
off.
And
go on, Steve, before me.
And then every Friday you can see me here on Spurs Diehrds TTID as I gloat about American players, because that's just what I do. And then of course I'm also going to be reoccurring on the Irish Hotspur as well too. So there's going to be multitudes of platforms where you can find me gloating about American players. So it is what it is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just want to plug the channel. 170 of you viewing us now on various platforms. Fantastic. Thank you for viewing us. Thank you for your support. In the bottom right-hand corner, we can't see it. We're live. You see the subscribe button. Please subscribe to the channel if you like the show tonight, if you like our content. We class ourselves as being a mature and sensible Spurs podcast, right? And we are also fact-based. We always like to bring fact-based stuff and make it interesting for you, right? So if you like us, subscribe to the channel. It'll help the algorithm, it'll help us to grow as well. And like I said, as Drew said, big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to those in the chat that have asked us questions. And a very big up to those of you that watch us on playback. And like I say, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on XCOM. And then shows go out every Tuesday. I host Tuesday. Drew hosts Friday. Ian hosts Sundays. And with that, big thank you again. Back to Drew.
Thank you very much, everybody. We will see you again next week and obviously see you on the other shows. I will also be on Irish Hotspur in the morning for the pre-game pump-up. So with that, I'm going to play the outro and we'll see you all soon. Take care and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you
Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs die hard, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs die hard, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs die hard, Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs die hard, Tottenham till I die.